Kirby Smart said what about some of his players? Not coachable? They don't want to be coached? Yeah, this is a Clemson football channel, but I'm talking about Georgia. I'm talking about this comment because I think it extends past Georgia. I think it goes into, it's actually evident in other programs. And yes, even in Clemson, South Carolina. I'm diving into that in just a second. Thanks for hanging out with me. We're a few weeks away from the spring game for Clemson. Spring game is a couple of weeks away on April the 5th. I had to look at that there. April the 5th. So we have just a little bit more of the spring practice thing going on, and then we'll really be in a dry spell for us true college football fans. You know, people who's talking about college football right now, we actually care about it right now. That's the people who's going to watch this. Your Hobby Lobby moms who wears their Clemson shirts, you know, because they think Clemson's playing, they're not watching it right now. They're not watching this channel right now. They're not watching college football talk right now. And in fact, they believe Deshaun Watson and Trevor Lawrence was actually interchangeable. You know, Trevor Watson. And that's how much they know Clemson football. Those people are not watching right now. But real college football fans are watching. I do appreciate it. Hey, if you like what I'm doing, I hope you'll subscribe. Remember, it is free. I do appreciate it. Now, let me give a preface. I need to give a preface before I really dive into this. I'm not a Georgia fan. I'm not even taking a dig at Georgia here. So for anyone who wears their feelings on their shoulders and say, well, you just got to understand that's how I am. First, you need counseling. Second of all, I'm not saying anything bad about Georgia. Kirby Smart's won 2 national championships. The guy can coach, right? So what Kirby Smart said to me, not to me, but what he said, to me, it really solidified some ideas that I have about college football and where it's at. Now, he was talking about how their roster, they don't have a ton of returning players. And from what I'm getting out of that is you have guys who are in the transfer portal, you have people who are graduating, you have, you know, all that good stuff that's going on. That's the new, it's just the new culture of college football. During this, he said, you know, that he asked players to stand up who this will be like their 3rd spring practice. And he said this, I asked the guys to stand up at least 3 spring practices so that this would be their 4th. There was basically no one standing. Now, I'm taking this quote. He was in the middle of talking there, so it probably didn't sound like he was using proper grammar, nor was I. I'm guilty as charged there. So any English teachers who are easily offended this channel, you're probably going to lose your mind. But anyway, but he was saying, hey, look, we don't have a bunch of guys who's just hanging around for years here. And the NFL is part of that reason. The transfer portal is part of that reason. And just graduation is part of that reason. So, but what I really found interesting is this. He said, we have a lot of guys that put their hands up. They're offended when you coach them. We've had multiple NFL coaches come through here, go to practice, and they talk about how their players love to be coached. They love to be given a nugget, a technique that might help them play longer. Some of our guys are offended by it. Notice I didn't say all of them. He said some of them. I'm repeating him, some of them. So if you're ill at me for talking about Georgia, I'm just the messenger. You need to go tell off your 2 national championship winning coach. Smart said, you're coaching me hard. You're telling me I've got to play with effort. Some of them, I guess, have never been held to that standard. That standard's not going to change here. End of quote. Smart was then asked if he's seen an uptick of players not taken to coaching in recent years. Are players that are getting paychecks to play college football less coachable because they think they've arrived? He responded, it's picking the right people to coach. Smart answer, kids that want to be coached don't care what they make. Kids in the guys in the NFL make more than these guys. They still want to be coached. I think they'll get there. If they want, somebody else will be in their spot. Okay. There's a lot to unravel here, and I'll try to do it quickly, which y'all know me, I can ramble and ramble and ramble. Point of emphasis, don't ramble, Brian. To the point. This is exactly what I expected from NIL. Now, some of you are like, well, Brian, you've got to understand that players should be paid and this, that, and the other. Okay, great. That's not going to change. Also realize that there's a lot more at play than just NIL. What he just talked about was that if you get to the NFL, and if you're at a Georgia, you're at an Ohio State, even a Clemson, your number one goal is not just to collect NIL paychecks. Your goal is to get to the NFL and make even crazier money. Can we just agree on that the money in the NFL is much crazier than NIL? And I know you're naming out a few different players that's making a lot of money in NIL. That's the few versus the whole of getting to the NFL. You get to the NFL, you make outrageous money. I mean outrageous. Now, of course, the NIL money to you and I, common people like you and I, it can be quite good, and we would gladly take it. I'm not knocking it. And I'm not arguing about players being paid or not. What in a secondary kind of repercussion is you're taking 18, 19-year-old boys and you're giving them money, and these same kids, and they're not kids, they're guys, but they've probably been really good athletes since middle school, and everyone knew that they were going to be incredible talents, these 5- and 4-star players. Most of them, it just didn't happen overnight. People knew they were good athletes for years. I've talked about the athletes I've personally witnessed be that incredible athlete who's now playing in the NFL. Saw a bunch of them, by the way. And most of them just didn't show up overnight. And then they started being pampered by their middle school coaches and by their middle school teachers, and then in high school they were given preferential treatment. Now they're playing for Georgia, or they're playing for Clemson, or they're playing for Ohio State, or they're playing for Texas, and now the money is flowing. And okay, that's fine. Certain people in life receive special treatment. That is a tale as old as time. But then they go to line up in practice, and their wide receiver coach, this is going to be shocking, has the audacity to coach them. Hey, man, you didn't run that route. You didn't dip your hips there, man. What are you doing? What? You're talking to me? I've been God's gift to the earth since I was a 7th grader. I've been treated like royalty for years. Are you telling me what to do? Little wide receiver coach, how much are you making? You making 500K right now? Wide receiver coach? 400K? Maybe 6 or 7 if they really think a lot of you? Well, I have a $3 million deal. So, yeah. Here's the key. You're giving that NIL money to actually be good. I'm wrong there. To be incredible. And so I'm hard on coaches, and y'all know me, I lay off of players for the most part. And I'm very careful how I criticize them. You watch this channel, you know I'm very careful what I say about players, because they are not children. And I may use the term boys every now and again. By the way, that's a loose term people say, just being chilled out. There's some people offended by it. I say, get your offendedness, or whatever it is, offense. That's it. Get it off your shoulders. Yeah, I call my best friends boys, and they're 50 or 40. The boys are getting together, you know. So the point is, these guys They have to be coached. I'm going to get to the point here. They have to be coached. I don't care how much they're making in NIL. They're not giving them money like this is a Make-A-Wish Foundation for them to come in, drive 90 into 45 in Athens, Georgia, and then get pulled over, and then everybody say the police has it out for them. So the very week that your coach comes out and says the players are being offended by being coached, you have a player or two getting arrested for doing what they've been doing for years now, and nobody, maybe they need a driving instructor down there. Maybe someone needs to take control there. I don't know. But they're offended that the coach would look at them and demand more out of them. Anyone here ever watched the movie The Replacements from the early 2000s? Gene Hackman, God rest his soul, Keanu Reeves, Jon Favreau plays an incredibly insane yet very likable linebacker. And the whole premise of the movie, the NFL goes on strike. They bring in the replacements. Keanu Reeves is the replacement. Gene Hackman is the replacement coach. He's a no-nonsense sort of guy. And then at the end of the movie, while everything, he's turned the team around, Keanu Reeves playing quarterback, he's doing great. All of a sudden, their star, like $30 million per year quarterback, comes back across the line. He goes, and now he's replacing Keanu Reeves. And he's back, and this guy's won like an like a Super Bowl and the NFL MVP. I can't speak right now. I'm so worked up. And he goes out there and he just starts throwing the ball wherever he wants to, and Gene Hackman calls him out on it. And the guy, because how much money he makes, he laughs in Gene Hackman's face. Folks, this is what you're getting right now. That's what you're getting. That's why the NFL is out of control. And even they, I don't want to say all of them, want to be coached. I mean, I don't know if Kirby made that up. I'd very well doubt he did. There are certain guys who they make it to the NFL and they want to leave a legacy. Others want to party and blow all their money and become a 30 for 30 poster child in 10 years. Okay, great. Great. They want to become the poster child of that person's an idiot, blew all their money on God knows what. People tried to tell them not to be stupid. They thought they were better than wisdom. They found out they're not. How many times have we heard this? How many times have we heard this story? Okay? But there are other guys out there who take their career very serious. Tom Brady did. Tom Brady took his career extremely serious, and you can tell. You can tell that man took his career very serious. Calvin Johnson, that I know of, took his career very serious. There's guys who even lived crazy away from the game, but they took the game serious. Like, they were blowing money, but they did care about the game. But you have these 18, 19, 20-year-old guys looking at their coach going, "You're doing this to me? I'm great. Didn't you hear? You didn't hear how great I am? I'm awesome. Just ask me. Go check out my Instagram. Go check out my TikTok. I'm amazing." You know who dropped in my DMs last night? She wouldn't touch you, old man. But me? And you're telling me how to play? This goes beyond Georgia. As much as I'd love to dump on Georgia, and by the way, I have some really good friends and people I go to church with who I think the world of. They're Georgia fans, big Georgia fans. In fact, they may watch this video. And if you do see this, you know who you are. I appreciate you. I think the world of you. The only wrong thing with you is that you're a Georgia fan. I say that lighthearted. But this is happening across the country. This is happening, whether you believe it or not, at Clemson. The last few 5-star running backs that came into Clemson, how many of them actually finished at Clemson? Go look them up. Look how they've bounced from team to team to team. CJ Spiller was not our last 5-star that we got out of Florida as a running back. But I believe I'm making a broad statement here. Every 5-star running back we've got since him, I think one of them got kicked off the team. Out of Florida, got kicked off the team. What is my point here? My point is that some of these guys, they have been before NIL, they were bad. They'd been babied. They'd been given the special treatment. And it meant nothing to them. Now they're making solid money. They come to school. And you're coaching me? Man, I just show up. I don't know what you're talking about, man. I have raw talent. And I think that's one of the issues that we're seeing here. Don't be shocked when teams bring in really, really good talent, and that really good talent, if they take the game serious, they're going to take their practice serious. If they're there and they believe they're entitled to something, they're not going to. And that's at Georgia, that's at Clemson, that's at South Carolina, that's at Ohio State, that's just name the school. All right. I'm going to check the comment section here for just a second. Let me see. Might worry about Clemson. Don't worry about Georgia football. Love that. We had Barnes and Fagan do great in the spring. Who was the freshman standout this time? I think it's Gideon. Gideon. I'm definitely looking forward to that. Is there a hidden meaning behind the two that is above the eye of the tiger over your shoulder? No, not that I know of. Not that I know. I've never noticed that, and now I do. D-line probably the biggest concern for Georgia this year. They have some big talent, however, like Allen and Wilson. Until schools are allowed to handle the NIL money, it won't get better. Probably so. Has to be merit-based. As you said, the NFL is out of control. Capitalism and economics are very much in control, buddy. Marcus, you always get really offended when I talk about players and what they're paid. I don't know. I don't know how I've offended you there, but I can tell you get really irritated, like that's your button. You don't comment that much on other things, but when and now I'm not singling you out. I'm just saying I don't understand why you get so offended when I talk about. I don't have a problem with people making a lot of money, and I definitely am not a communist, and I definitely don't like socialism. Every time socialism has been rebranded, it's basically still the same thing. So I agree with you. Capitalism is not perfect. I agree with you 100%. And there's a lot of bad things about capitalism that I don't like. Some really bad stuff that has went on with it. I don't. It just seems like I irritate you there, and I really don't get why I irritate you, Marcus. Now, hey, listen. These players want to be paid. That's what everybody wants to be paid. You want to be paid. I want to be paid. Everyone wants to be paid. My problem is, how do you have a hierarchy? How do you have a hierarchy that's in control when the players look and say, hey, I make more money than you, so I really don't listen. And the NFL is, I did say the NFL is out of control. The NFL, I really don't know how you even coach one of those players. That's why you get a lot of these guys who are really good coaches, and they call it. Other coaches, they play the system. So I'm not trying to offend you, Marcus, and I'm not trying to call you out whatsoever, but it seems like I really tick you off when I bring up paying players and what it's done to the game. So I don't know, man. No hard feelings. That's not my approach or feeling. So anyway, but I can tell by the way that you put there, very much in control, buddy. I've ticked you off, and I really don't know why. I'm not taking money out of your pocket, not taking money out of their pocket. In fact, us talking about them is actually helping them. If fans don't care about sports, no one's going to pack a stadium and pay those ungodly prices. I mean, I can barely take my kid to a Clemson football game. So, I mean, it's got so expensive. It's because people care, and that's what drives these players. I mean, nobody is filling stadiums to go see, a spelling bee because people really don't care that much. So, I don't know. I don't know. It seems like I really tick you off, but I'm not trying to, man. I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here. Glad you subscribed. Good to hear from you. What makes Saban, Smart, and Dabo top coaches in their propensity to merge player conceit into strength on the field or disconsolation on the bench? I think Saban. Well, I mean, the guy was 72. I think 72. I think that Saban. I think that Saban. I think that guy, if he was a little younger, he would have stayed in the game and he still would have done great. But I just think he finally called it. And he called it on top of the game. Bill James, you're looking at the small picture. The players are making millions, but the owners are making billions. Well, I mean, if investor groups, Bill, for instance, if in the NFL, if the investors or the founders or the founders of a company, they are the ones who create the business, they buy a team, or they buy a business, an organization, and they assume that risk of loss, and then they turn it around and they put the right pieces in together, and they make a bunch of money, and they select to pay their players what the players in the market will allow them to pay. I think everybody wins there. If I create a business today and I'm up half the night trying not to be stressed out that I could possibly lose everything, and then that business becomes successful on down the road, and I have a lot of people working for me, whether it's a football team or whether it's a business, I think that no one was there to shoulder my stress during the years that I risked everything to make it. I shouldn't. If people will agree to work for me for a certain price, great. And if I don't adjust to the market itself and what people are being paid, what they should be paid, and that's a whole argument in itself. The idea is I will be put out of business. So it's kind of a two-way street. Marcus, not offended, just realize it's a two-way street. You were not concerned when the fake concept of amateurism was in play. Players do not get a piece of the pie. It works both ways now. They did get a scholarship, and I had to pay for 2 degrees, Marcus. And most of these players, they could care less about their scholarship. They could care less about the special treatment they've received, and I've watched it firsthand. Once again, they got that. They got that. Some people get this, some people get that. It is what it is. But I have seen people that, if I start name dropping, they were given special treatment because of their athletic ability all through school, all into college, and they were receiving some form of payment. And a lot of them were being paid under the table in some ways. And I think the NCAA is ridiculous, my friend. I think that people who were truly in need all of these years, who, their family was back home suffering and people wanted to help their family, but they couldn't because of NCAA violations. I agree with you 100% that they should have been able to be helped in some form or fashion. But I had to pay for my schooling. And there was a school that I could have got into that it was going to be way, way, way too much money for me to go to. And I didn't feel right. And I went back to school later on in life, married with 2 children. These guys don't care about that. So I won't say they don't fully care about it, but it's just kind of a blimp on the radar to them. So you and I just see things a little different But a lot of these guys were given special treatment for a very, very long time. And they should have loosened up the rules to be able to help people who was suffering. We just see things differently. You don't bring in billions in money and not get 1 cent. Bill, they were getting scholarships. They were getting room and board. They were getting, a lot of these guys were getting some form of compensation. So also, if we go into the NFL, these guys are paid, well, now they're paid outrageously well. So, hey, listen, I'm not sitting here saying that players shouldn't be paid. The question is, where do we cap this, and who's actually in control of the team? Because whether we all like it or not, I don't like being told what to do, by the way. I'm a regular human being. I hate being told what to do. But you know what? If I have someone who is my leader that is above me, and that's hard for especially us Americans to get that into our head. If we have a leader who is above us and they tell us to do something, they're in charge for a reason, and unless they're telling us to do something unethical, we're supposed to do it. And what I think has creeped into especially college sports is the idea that I'm making a ton of money. My wide receiver coach over here, my offensive line coach over here, he doesn't make as much as I do. What's he doing telling me what to do? And so, anyway, this is a really touchy subject, and a lot of people don't like it. A lot of people sees it some specific way, and they really, really, really get offended. But these players have received scholarships that people who are sitting beside them in class when they decide to go to class, they're having to bust their butt. They're having to bust their butt to make the grades. They're having to bust their butt to get through school, and they share the same classroom. Well, these players over here are making tons of money for the school, and that person right here is not. Man, you talk about a system where you're looking at the people who are sitting beside you and go, hey, listen, I make a lot of money here, so it really doesn't matter if I study or not. I'm going to get a good grade. Good luck to you and your potential job making $80,000 a year. I'm just saying, we get on this slippery slope. It is a very emotional or emotion-filled, emotion-charged subject. So, anyway, folks, y'all take care of yourself. Y'all have a good time. Hope you have a great weekend. And we have spring game in 2 weeks. Y'all take care of yourself, and as always, go Tigers.